Good day, economic students. Welcome to our online study of macroeconomics. The purpose of this video is to review the syllabus. Any course you take from now until the time you graduate or even finish your graduate degree, it is vitally important, it is imperative, it is a must to review the syllabus. This is even more so true in an online class because obviously we don't have the luxury of seeing one another face to face, and the syllabus outlines in detail what is expected of students. Therefore, it is rather important that you go through the syllabus and understand its contents. Okay, so this is the 14-week class of macroeconomics. My name is Chick Kelly, Professor Chick Kelly, not Chip Kelly, the former Eagles coach. That whole hiring of him was a disaster in my life, people would say. Chip Kelly? I say no, Chick Kelly. So Chick Kelly, I'm an adjunct professor at Montgomery County Community College. The most important information on this particular slide is my phone number and email address. If you need anything, if you have any questions, if you need something clarified, if you're having trouble with the material, email and text are the best way to get a hold of me, and text is preferred. If you send me a text message, I can get back to you much quicker than an email. I don't have the luxury of checking my email 24/7. I have much more access to my phone. And also, it's just a quicker way to communicate. Now, if you have a formal request or you need some more formal information transcribed, then obviously you probably want to use an email for that purpose. But if it's just a quick question about something going on with the class or a question about material, please send me a text message. Just promise to put your name on the text so I know who it is, because obviously I don't have ESP. I can't tell who my students are without their names. Now, I do not have an office, but there's an adjunct professor's office in Parker House Hall. If we need to meet in person, we can make an appointment. That's why it says office hours by appointment. All right, I'm not going to read the entire course description to you, but economics is a social science which studies how society best answers the question of limited economic resources and unlimited economic wants. That social science is broken into two broad fields, micro and macro. We're going to be studying macroeconomics. Macroeconomics is the big picture. Economic growth, the business cycle, unemployment, inflation, fiscal and monetary policy. How does our government and our central bank interact with the economy when things aren't going so well? All right, so that's a brief explanation of the course. Course materials, you'll definitely need your book. We'll get to that later, but prerequisites, make sure you have taken these classes. Otherwise, if you have not fulfilled these prerequisites, you cannot take this class. Okay, these learning objectives. Again, I'm not going to go over all of these learning outcomes, but some of them I'll just highlight, like vocab of economics. When you graduate from this class, when you finish this course, you should be pretty well versed and say, hey, I know what GDP, I know what unemployment is, I know what inflation is, I know who the Fed chair is, I know what monetary policy is, right? I know what the trade deficit is, I know the difference between the trade deficit and the federal budget deficit. All right, so again, that kind of goes into number 2 about the American economy, right? So, if you're going to vote in elections and such, this is a great course because you should have some awareness of what's going on in the domestic economy and how that relates to the broader world economy. And then, of course, how that relates to everything in your life, which is number 3. Even if you're not going to major in economics, this course has some serious value because it helps you become an analytical thinker, right? So those skills are not only necessary but applicable to almost anything you do in life, and economics will force you to think logically and problem solve. Okay, the textbook. So McConnell, Brew, Flynn, the textbook, McConnell textbook, the 21st edition of the textbook, which is the new edition. Okay, now I'm not going to go through here how to access the textbook. I'm sure that all of you know that you can buy the textbook at the bookstore, you can get it online, you can rent the textbook. Whatever works best for you, just know that you need to get the 21st edition of the McConnell Economics textbook. You want to buy the econ textbook because the economics book has both the macro and the micro in it. So you buy it once and you can use it for 2 courses. Alright, this is how to communicate with your professor/instructor. Well, obviously this is sort of something that I should not even have to read to you. Right? In other words, you should understand the respectful communication and responsible communication. So I'm just going to say that we will communicate on a professional level, and I assume you understand what communicating on a professional level is. Like I said before, please text me as soon as you need anything. I will be able to get back to you quickly. And I do not mind spending time on the phone with students, especially if you're taking an online class, but even if you weren't taking an online class, explaining economic principles and concepts. Economics can be challenging. So if you have a question about any of the material we're covering, a 5 or 10 minute conversation with some examples might help to clarify your challenges and will serve to give you some peace of mind. Okay, preparing for an online class. I'm not sure if you've taken an online class before, but the online format is quite different than the in-person format. Essentially, we're trying to create the same learning experience for students if you took the course in person, online, or in a hybrid form, half online and half in person. But inevitably, it's impossible to recreate everything. So, when you take an online class, it is vitally important that you stay organized, that you stay on top of your work, and that you have a firm, disciplined approach to your learning. Right? In other words, don't let a few days go by without doing any work related to the class. Now, it says on here that you should spend a minimum of 10 hours per week on the course. So if you think about your typical college class, if it meets 3 times a week for 50 minutes, or twice a week for an hour and 15, or once a week for 3 hours, the in-class experience is typically 3 hours. So out of class, we would assume that students are doing a minimum of an hour or thereabouts a day. So that's where we get the idea of 10 hours. Now, some students will be able to get by with a little bit less than 10 hours. Some students will need a little bit more, but that gives you a ballpark figure. Be prepared, willing, and able to spend around 10 hours per week for this course. Now, because it's an online class, you need to know how to do things online. I assume most of you are familiar with navigating Blackboard. Okay, if you are not familiar with navigating Blackboard, this slide outlines some tools available to students, which are tutorials on how to navigate Blackboard. So use this if you are not familiar with some of the online aspects and tools within the framework of Blackboard. I will do my best to explain where everything is, and obviously if you have a question, you can't find something, just reach out. But you should review all of these prerequisite skills for an online class. Okay, now, attendance, no-shows, withdrawals, right? This whole thing about, if you're getting financial aid especially, you don't want to get a no-show, all right? A no-show may impact your financial aid status. So if the course syllabus for week 1 says that you need to take a quiz and you need to hand in homework and you need to participate in discussion and you need to communicate with your professor, if you've only sent me an email, that probably doesn't count as course attendance. All right, so you really want to keep up with this. Don't get yourself behind the 8 ball. The rest of this stuff is basic Montgomery County Community College policy, withdrawal policy, comprehensive grading policy. All that stuff is stuff you're familiar with. You can read over this on your own time, but you should know the rules of the game before you get into this and understand that these rules of withdrawal and comprehensive grading policy will apply as they are clearly stated on the syllabus. So here is a list of everything we're going to be covering each week. Hey, wait a second, this slide is blank. Oh man, what the heck? No, I did not make a mistake here. The syllabus outlines everything we're going to study each week. There's no need to go over everything because it'd make no sense for us to go over every week. But it is important for you to understand that I will post an announcement at the beginning of each week and send you an email via the course email distribution function each week. And the syllabus already lists and explains everything that needs to be finished each week. So just assume that you will review the announcement, the email, and or the syllabus at the beginning of each week to clarify what it is we are doing during that week. Right. Now, the most important slide you're all interested in. How will your final grade be determined? Okay. So there will be quizzes each week. You will have to take a quiz each week, and the quiz will combine your understanding of all of the material covered in the textbook and instructional videos. So I have created a series of instructional videos that coincide with the economic principles and concepts covered in the chapters, and hopefully they will help to provide more clarification and detail to the learning than just the textbook. So read the textbook, of course, watch the instructional videos, and then each week there will be an Economics USA video, which was put out by, actually originally put out by PBS and then by learner.org. These are good because they can allow us to be familiar with some economic history and some real-world economic events and how they apply to the principles we're studying. So to get prepared for the quizzes, you need to read the chapter or chapters we're covering each week. You need to watch the instructional videos that I have created and made available online through the wonders of YouTube. And you need to watch the Economics USA video. Now, each week I will post, and it will be on the syllabus as well, a detailed list of what you need to study and where all of these materials are available. Okay? Okay, so in addition to the quizzes, you're going to participate in discussion questions. So if you think about why we have discussion questions, well, the first reason is because it helps to replace, not perfectly, but replicate some of the missing element of in-person, face-to-face interaction. So our discussion questions online should help us facilitate some communication between students and other students, and between you and me, and then amongst all of us. Okay? So, what you need to know about discussion questions, it's going to challenge your ability to apply, the key word there is apply, principles and concepts to that we've studied in the chapter to something relevant taking place in the world. So I'm also going to ask you to read a weekly article or articles I should say, from the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, the Economist, and they will relate directly to the economic principles and concepts we're studying, and they will also function as a springboard to facilitate discussion questions. Now, discussion questions. Think about never ever talking to anyone in class in person via normal speaking, but discussion questions, you want to make your answers as clear and detailed as possible. So err on the side of adding a bit more detail and explanation on your discussion questions and your responses to your students, remembering that it's imperative to be clear on what you say and what you mean by what you say. Okay, homework. So there will be a homework assignment each week, right? The homework will ask you to demonstrate your knowledge as it applies to the principles and concepts from the textbook and video lectures, and how some of this knowledge relates to some of the other videos, the Economics USA videos, and the instructional videos, and any articles we may be reading. So, as far as homework is concerned, think of homework as a demonstration of effort. And you can pretty much say the same thing with discussion questions as well. If you display a high degree of effort, you're going to do well on these two type of assignments. Again, the syllabus will clearly outline what's expected of you, and there will be an announcement posted each week for your responsibilities for discussion questions and homework. But notice that together discussion questions and homework represent half of your grade. At the end of this course, there will be a final exam. It will include both subjective, meaning multiple choice type questions, and some, some of those things that students like, which are called essay questions. Okay, more about the final exam later. If you have any questions about the rating system, please reach out to me, but it's pretty straightforward. 25% of your grade is determined by each of these 4 learning outcomes. Now we will use the Montgomery County Community College grading scale. You're all familiar with this. Last word, again, this is your course, your time, your effort, your money. But please, I'm here to serve you. I get paid because you pay Montgomery County Community College to have a professor instruct you in the class. I will do everything within reason to help you succeed in this class, and please do not hesitate to reach out if you have any questions or issues directly related to our course. Thanks, and good luck with your study of macroeconomics.